Next up is CEO and founder of Wealthe Migrate, Scott Picken. Give him a round of applause.
Morning. So it's 2009, I'm 32 years old, and I meet two South African billionaires, Henny Besaidnout and Peter Veenstra. I asked them what they're investing in, and I am actually an investor on easy equities, but this is not my presentation. Guys? I suggest we start again.
No.
It's not even my presentation.
Is that you now?
Let's rock and roll.
Let's do this.
So what I was basically saying is that you've got Henny Besaidnout and Peter Veenstra. I meet with them. They're buying medical centres. Now I've helped at this time 2,500 South Africans invest in residential houses and apartments. I own a number myself, and I say, well, why medical? And Henny said to me, well, think about it. No matter what happens in the economy, people need doctors. Secondly, doctors tend to stay in their premises for a long period of time. And thirdly, they sign very favourable leases. I thought, that's an absolute no-brainer. How do I get involved? So I asked him, and he said, well, it's just for me and my friends and my family, and it's 5 million Australian dollars each. I was like, I get the problem. 8 of them invested, they invested $40 million. Today that's listed on the Australian Stock Exchange worth $700 million. Now I wanted to be involved, but that is typical financial exclusion. Now in the property industry, that story epitomizes what is happening. 49% of the world's wealth is held in property, and yet only 12.9% of the world's population actually has access to property. The system is broken. There are 16 different middlemen between the investor and the investment. There are high fees, there's low trust, there's low transparency, and there's no alignment. We decided to change that. We decided to make it easy for an investor to get access to the best opportunities in England, Australia, South Africa, and America. We decided to make global real estate investing easy. Most people, when they think of property, they think of hassle, they think of management, they think of maintenance, they think of broken toilets, tax, compliance, structures, bank accounts. What we did with our platform is just make it safe and simple. Now they can purely focus on the best opportunities with the best partners, and from as little as 1,000 Rand. There's 4 simple steps. You sign up in a compliant way, you choose the investment that you like in direct property, you ultimately transact online, and you manage your entire portfolio in one place. So whether you want to invest in America, England, Australia, or South Africa, you no longer have to choose. You know, as technology is changing around the world, there are plenty of platforms coming. But when I use Uber or Airbnb, I don't want to have to use a different app in every single country I go to. We solved that problem so that people could have a diversified portfolio in one place. What's interesting for us is that we've got a system called the Global Investment Due Diligence System. It's built on blockchain, and in simple terms, it helps people know where to invest, when to invest, who to invest with, what to invest in, and most importantly, how to invest. In the last 12 months, we've really endeavored to get a world-class board. Justin Clark on the Fintech side is the founder of Private Property. Paul Madeira is one of the world authorities in the compliance in this space. And yes, Henny and Peter help us make sure that all the deals are good quality deals that we can invest in. There's clearly a demand out there in the market. Last Thursday, we went through 10,000 members. But what's exciting is that it's from 105 different countries. We have investors from 42 countries around the world. That's more than 1/4 of the entire planet. We won the KPMG Global Fintech Top 50. We were the only company in Africa to be included in that group. We've had $64.6 million go through our platform. But something we're proudest of is that we've got a higher than 70% reinvestment rate in terms of the platform. When we look at the metrics, similar to Charles, we're still male dominated. But we've got some amazing promotions on at the moment, like Women in Wealth. And it's achieving 3 things. Not only is it empowering women with education, secondly, more than 50% of the women are millennials, and 30% of all the females are African females, which is really exciting. Another initiative we started this year is that people under the age of 18 can now invest. Rather than having to play Monopoly to learn, they can now learn while doing. And these type of engagements is really helping us get our traction. You know, last year when I stood on the stage, we had 1,200 members. Now we're over 10,000. We're growing at 1.93% per day. This is even more interesting though. This is people actually taking their money out of their pocket and investing. Our transactions are growing quarter on quarter. Our investors are growing by 0.5% per day. So what's interesting is let's look at some real opportunities. This is a $16 million medical portfolio that had a targeted return of 8.3%. 3 years ago, we bought it in America with people from 5 different continents, investors from 5 continents. Over the last 3 years, we paid a cash on cash in US dollar terms of 10%. This one, 11.22. This one, 8.49. This one, 8.29. Now, I can share with you the significance of this, because the average REIT in America is paying between 4.5% and 4.75%. Our investors are literally getting nearly double that return. We've saved them in the region of $3.4 million over the last couple of years, and that has a significant impact on their bottom line, but most importantly, their financial well-being. We take all our investments. You can invest on the platform through Bitcoin, and this really brings us to the future. If anyone saw the price of Bitcoin today, most of you have heard of Bitcoin, but I guarantee you no one in this room feels comfortable to explain the valuation of Bitcoin. And what's important is that every single person on this planet knows the value of property. Whether they have access to property or not is a separate conversation. And so we're in the process of launching Wealthe Coin, which is a cryptocurrency that is effectively based on the intrinsic value of property. And so I want to leave you with some final thoughts. This year is my wife and son. He's 5 years old and he's playing global Monopoly. At a very young age, he's learning that to have red houses and green hotels and earn a passive income is what we call smart investing. His father, with an incredible team, now has a portfolio of residential and commercial properties across 4 different continents. And since 2013, I've invested in every single deal that Henny and Peter have done with as little as 1,000 Rand. It's what we call smart investing. The wealthiest people in the world, they ultimately create generational wealth. It's what we call smart investing. And we want to put smart investing in every single person's pocket. And with Wealthe Coin, gamification, blockchain, and technology, we truly believe we can solve the greatest challenge on the planet, the wealth gap. Thank you.
Any questions?
Scott, thanks. Just one thing, can you take us through the ease of customers registering, and is there any, large documents that need to be submitted or anything like that?
So registering on the platform is really simple. I think similar to Charles, we were discussing it last week. Our greatest challenge is Picken and the KYC, and that's the same anywhere in the world in terms of people getting their proof of residence, and particularly the more sophisticated they are, if it's through trust, etc. But other than that process, literally you can invest in multiple countries in minutes in terms of the process.
So I think my next question is exactly in terms of the documentation and the fee. How do you collect it? Can they submit it? Do they scan it? Do they have to come in and drop it off?
It's all online.
All digital.
Everything's online.
Brilliant, thanks.
Yeah. Including, just the signing of the contracts, everything is online.
Well done, it's great traction, but how do you actually make money?
Good question. So we earn a fee of around 3% on a deal. And so it's really a transaction fee. And then the most important thing, our 3 core values are trust, transparency, and alignment. So most people in our industry want to make either all the fees up front, or they want to have an ongoing annual fee that is like a fund or a REIT. So what we do is we have a transaction fee up front that's completely transparent, and then we actually have a performance fee on the back end, which is where we make the majority of our cost, of our revenue. And why that's important is that we're aligned with our investors. So our investors, ourselves, and our partners on the ground are aligned, which is a sustainable model to make sure everyone makes money in the long term. So that's how it works. And that's why, from a revenue perspective, we went through $1.1 million last year, but 2019 becomes a real kicker because we start to earn the back end of the platform performance.
Scott, what's the distribution like in terms of the investor portfolio that you have from a South African perspective? So I know you said there's been quite a lot of take-up kind of globally. How many South Africans are actually investing?
Look, you know, it's interesting. I had a story that really kind of made it really real to me. I was in Dubai in February and I met a guy from Iraq. And he said to me, do you know that in Iraq there's a lot of people who would like to invest in England, Australia, America? I suddenly thought to myself, wherever there's a country that doesn't quite trust their government, that wants to get their money into first world assets, and all they're really looking for, you don't need to teach them the why, all they're interested in is how to do it safe and simply. We found that there's been massive traction in those markets, so South Africa, China, Dubai, Southeast Asia. We started in South Africa, the base started in South Africa, but like I said, when I stood on the stage 12 months ago, we had investors from 20 countries, it's now 42 countries. So South Africa was our kind of base. We launched offices, people on the ground in London and Dubai in September. I'm off to America tomorrow to do the same thing. We've got our partner in Southeast Asia, we've already got a team in China. So that's really how we do it with on the ground demand building. And then the supply remains in England, Australia, and America at the moment, and South Africa.
Tell us more about Wealthe, and is it a prospective ICO that you're planning, or
Yeah.
and when is that coming to market?
So the pre-sale is starting on the 20th of October. I go to Vegas to actually launch it in Vegas, and then the crowd sale will start on the 15th of November, closing on the 15th of December.
Last question, what are the plans with that sort of capital raising?
So we basically wanted to build an ecosystem very similar to the question asked Charles. There's two ways to solve this challenge. One is through education and one is through providing solutions. So we've got an ecosystem which is based on Wealth Create, Wealth Migrate, the Wealth University and the Wealth Movement. And really what that ICO is enabling us to do is to capitalize the business and ultimately provide the catalytic impact to unlock that whole ecosystem in terms of where the dream is to get investing down to $1 per person. I cannot get it to $1 per person when I've got to use PayPal and a lawyer and a trust account and a bank. It just can't work. Whereas a cryptocurrency can remove all the friction costs and can enable the dream to come true.
Is your strategy in terms of the purchasing of the properties more focused on international, or is there a drive to buy South African or African properties and invest in Africa?
So at the moment it's South Africa, not Africa. Our greatest risk is if something goes wrong. I tend to joke Uber or Airbnb, if there was a rape or a death, we probably wouldn't have heard of them. So for us, Africa is exciting, there's lots of good opportunities in Africa, but we can't afford to go to Kenya or Nigeria and people invest their money from anywhere in the world and actually lose money. So we really are going after countries where there's stability and legal recourse. With time, I believe we're creating the bridge of safety from the emerging world into the first world. But with time, I see a future where the first world will be coming back into the emerging world. But we've got a three-step strategy. We go into a country first, we unlock the demand. Then we work with partners on the ground. Once we've got a better understanding, then we'll unlock the land. So we've been in China now for 18 months. We'll be launching China property in the first quarter next year. And again, we will stick with the genre we know. It's like medical is something we're really strong in. I think of it like an anchor tenant. So we'll go in with that. We won't just do China property.
Thank you. Give me a round of applause.